There is a peculiar thing that happens when you cross the threshold of 60. The world expects you to start fading. They expect you to hold tighter to your memories because supposedly your future is shrinking. For me, the opposite happened. I didn't start fading. I started waking up. I realized that for 6 decades, I had been carrying an invisible backpack filled with the heavy stones of other people's expectations, societal scripts, and a desperate need to be enough. And one morning I looked at that backpack and simply put it down. Today, I want to share with you the 5 things I stopped caring about after 60. This isn't a list of regrets. It's a declaration of independence. If you feel tired, overwhelmed, or like you're performing a life that doesn't belong to you, listen closely. Because letting go of these 5 things didn't just change my life, it saved it. First, the script of productivity. The first thing I dropped was the cult of being busy. For 40 years, my worth was tied to my output. If I wasn't working, I was planning. If I wasn't planning, I was fixing. We are trained to believe that a good life is a productive one. We wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor. But after 60, the clock ticks differently. I stopped caring about getting things done and started caring about being present. I stopped feeling guilty for a Tuesday afternoon spent watching the rain or reading a book for 4 hours straight. I realized that the world doesn't collapse if I'm not productive. The hustle is a young person's game, and frankly, it's a trap. I no longer care about being a contributing member of society in the way the economy wants me to be. I care about being a conscious observer of my own life. Silence is not a waste of time, it is the destination. Second, the approval of the ghosts. The second thing I stopped caring about is the approval of people who aren't even there. We all have them. The ghosts of a critical parent, a judgmental former boss, or a social circle from 20 years ago. We make choices based on an imaginary audience that is constantly grading our lives. At 60, I finally looked at the grandstand and realized it was empty. No one is actually watching you as closely as you think. Most people are too busy struggling with their own ghosts to judge yours. I stopped caring if my house looked impressive to guests. I stopped caring if my career path looked successful to old classmates. The only person I have to face in the mirror at 2 a.m. is me. And me doesn't care about status symbols anymore. Me cares about authenticity. If I want to wear the same comfortable sweater 3 days in a row, I do it. If I want to change my mind about a lifelong belief, I do it. I've retired from the performance of self. Third, maintaining hollow relationships. The third thing, and perhaps the hardest, was that I stopped caring about keeping up with everyone. We are told that loneliness is the greatest enemy of aging. So we cling to every friendship, every distant relative, and every social obligation out of fear. We attend dinners that drain us. We listen to people who don't hear us. I decided that I'd rather be alone than lonely in a crowded room. I stopped caring about the duty of friendship. If a relationship requires constant maintenance but offers no nourishment, I let it fade. I stopped being the one who always reached out first to people who never reached back. Some call this isolating, I call it curating. I've traded 1,000 shallow connections for 3 or 4 deep ones. My social circle is smaller, but for the first time in my life, it's actually solid. I no longer have the energy to manage other people's insecurities or play the games of politeness. I want truth or I want silence. There is no middle ground anymore. Fourth, the fear of the end. The fourth thing I stopped caring about is the fear of aging itself. We spend billions of dollars trying to hide the fact that time is passing. We treat wrinkles like failures and grey hair like a disease. I spent my 50s terrified of 60, but once I got here, I realized that the fear was much worse than the reality. I stopped caring about looking young. I started caring about looking alive. Every line on my face is a receipt for a lesson I learned. Why would I want to erase the evidence of my resilience? When you stop fighting the inevitable, you gain an incredible amount of energy. I stopped worrying about how much time is left and started focusing on how I inhabit the time I have. Death is no longer a dark shadow in the corner, it's a quiet reminder to enjoy the coffee while it's hot. When you stop caring about staying young, you finally give yourself permission to grow wise. Fifth, the need to be understood. Finally, the fifth thing I stopped caring about, being understood. I spent most of my life explaining myself, explaining my choices, my mistakes, my dreams. I wanted people to get me, to validate my perspective. Now, I don't care if you misunderstand me. Your opinion of me is a reflection of your own world, not mine. If you think I'm eccentric or lazy or too much, that's okay. I don't feel the need to litigate my life in the court of public opinion. There is a massive freedom in being the villain in someone else's story, if it means being the hero in your own. I've stopped explaining my solitude. I've stopped defending my peace. If you're approaching this age, or if you're already here, I want you to try something. Pick one thing today that you've been doing just to please the ghosts or the script, and just stop. The world won't end. But your life might finally begin, because 60 isn't the beginning of the end. It's the end of the bullshit. And that is a beautiful place to be. Thanks for watching.